Good evening. Happy Wednesday. Welcome into the number one Group of Five college football show in the history of the planet. This is the Group of Five guys presented by FanDuel. Our mission is to be the voice for the Group of Five or Group of Six football programs, voice that the mainstream sports media refuses to be. We need your help to do that. Make sure you hit the follow button on all the social media platforms at Group of Five guys. Go to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the Believe Network, wherever you get your best podcasts. Subscribe to the channel, leave a 5-star rating and a review. Most importantly, share with your family and friends. On this episode, we're talking offensive line, defensive line. Who is O-line you, D-line you, MAC schedule release. We might even talk politics. Hope you enjoy the show. This is the Group of Five guys, and we are coming to you live.
They got Old Dominion week 3, and ODU is by no means a layup. Group of Five guys told me that, so that has to be true.
We looked at each other, we was like, Mike, the best place to be is a Group of Five. So I'm sitting here with the Group of Five guys, right?
Troy has won. It's been a winner, and it's a special place. So it's why you want the job.
But it's a ton of fun to watch a guy go to the NFL from a Nevada or a Colorado State or a Middle Tennessee or an App State, and fans follow that kid.
Those across there, you want to have this thing packed out, have the student section packed out, giving those guys hell on the sideline. I mean, that's part of it. I mean,
win or lose, like we're winning the tailgate.
There's no better place to be developed in this country than Boise State.
Jeff, I got to tell you, I am getting my ass kicked by the Georgia pollen and coming from the pine trees down here in Southwest Georgia. I mean, I wake up in the morning, puffy-eyed, nose dripping, nose totally stuffed, trucks covered in yellow powder. I mean, it's a real problem. I mean, I got a lot of problems. It's a real problem because this time of year is when as you know, I get out the car washing, detailing equipment, and I wash my truck, wash my wife's car, just about every Saturday. If you wash it Saturday, dude, if you wash it Saturday morning, by Saturday afternoon, covered in pollen. And it is about as frustrating as it gets, but you got to do it. Otherwise, you ruin the paint.
Well, Sprouts, here's your problem. You got to go to Publix or Sprouts or your local,
It had nothing to do with the pollen.
Store. You got to get some Manuka honey.
Yeah, dude. I put John.
Locally
you know what
sourced.
the problem is? The Manuka honey, it's got a, I never remember it's MGO or MNG or something like that. And it's got to be like 100+ MGO. And you can't get that in stores. Like that's an online thing. And I'm telling you, you're talking $50-$60 for a tiny little jar.
Yeah.
If you take a tablespoon of it every morning, I mean, you're getting like a month's worth, maybe.
What you need to do is just find you a little farmer's market or something, or
just
somebody locally sourced honey, actual bees from that area. That's what you need.
This is a real dumb question, but it has to be like a honey, like a specific kind of bee, right? I mean,
yeah, honeybees.
Well, yeah, but do other bees not do honey?
I don't know.
So, we have a real carpenter bee problem.
Yeah, carpenter bees don't.
Boy, they are. Do you guys have those?
Uh-huh.
I don't remember having them when I guess I didn't have a house there.
My in-laws got a log cabin, and they're all over it.
Dude, yeah, because we got the wooden fence, we got the wooden swing set, we got firewood everywhere. And I mean, dude, you walk into my backyard and it sounds like there's a drone. Like just all the time, dude. They're all over, but they don't do nothing. They don't bother you.
Your boys are getting into t-ball, baseball.
Yeah,
get
tennis racket
or a bat.
No, we got the fly zapper.
No,
and it'll zap them too.
Get your little baseball bat. Get that.
No, but the fly zappers got electricity, so when you hit them, it fries them.
Yeah,
but then you're pushing like creating the problem child.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So it's like the good old classic wiffle ball bat or something. Yeah, it works.
Yeah. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Hey, did you see James Madison had a record enrollment applications for the class of 2030? Did you notice that?
Isn't that crazy?
And I just can't put my finger on what has happened in the past couple of months that would have pushed that. I don't know. I just don't understand it.
It makes no sense why their
Yeah.
applications would be up.
Uh-huh. And so as poorly as they may have done in the CFP, you still see what it did for the university. And that starts to snowball like we've been talking about, right? Now you'd be, oh, wow, we got or whatever, 40,000 applicants for the class of 2030. We'd be a little pickier, a little more picky here with this group. And then my degree's worth a little more. And it just, and so on and so on and so on. My degree's worth a little more. My alumni base is probably more successful in general, more money, more donations. There you go. And there's the winning formula, Jeff. I mean, it really is not that complicated.
No, it's not. But that's what happens when you have good leadership that, they have a plan in place. They're executing that plan. They're making athletics a priority because they understand its value in the American college experience. It's really not that difficult, but we know presidents and ADs and leadership across the country that just, I don't know what they think the role is.
Do we have any update out of Murfreesboro on the presidential situation?
No, I don't. I mean, I have hearsay, but I don't want to speculate.
Yeah. Then talk offline.
I mean, it's anybody who is a Middle fan can probably knows who's the puppet master, who's pulling the strings. And from what I've heard is that gentleman has got his person handpicked already. So we'll see who it ends up being. If they're going to do a real search in a committee, or are they just going to kind of do like a faux thing? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We'll see.
Hey, anyway, before we get into the real meat of the show, if you're on Twitter or Facebook, make sure you go over to YouTube. There's a pretty good live chat going. We got a couple folks in there. Always have a grand old time. You get your takes showing up right on air too, right there on the YouTube. Did you watch the first weekend of the tournament?
I did. Well,
I watched
not
a lot
all
of
it,
basketball.
but most of it, yeah.
Really solid day one.
Yeah.
It was almost the opposite of the way the CFP went. Like where the first week, I mean, Tulane and James Madison, it just couldn't have went worse. But then in round two, like Bama got smoked, Oregon, like it was like, oh no, see, here's some more blowouts. This was the opposite. Like you had the really good, you had High Point, and you had those teams, and then now
Miami,
you get down
Ohio
to the Sweet
beat
16.
SMU.
Yeah, and now you get down to the Sweet 16, and it's like, okay, blue blood.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I shouldn't even say blue blood because it's not really. I mean, Duke, UConn, those guys, but like it's not all the blue bloods.
Yeah, I mean, Kentucky got bounced.
Yeah, but quite a few SEC. I mean, not, but again, you get 10 teams in the thing, and what do they have? 4 of the Sweet 16?
I think so.
So, I mean, get 10 teams in the bracket, you got a chance.
I mean, it's just amazing when you have that much of a percentage of the field that you got a couple teams left.
But who do you go with? So I had.
Let me pull up who we used to
like I had. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I made a couple of brackets. One I made like strictly what I hoped was gonna happen, and that's the one where I picked Utah State to win the whole thing. And then one I picked was pretty like what I was or what I thought might happen, and I got UConn winning it. I mean, it's a pretty good pick, I think. I mean, if they're still alive.
You got Arkansas and Arizona. You got Texas,
Arizona's
Purdue, Michigan State, UConn, Duke, St. John's. I mean, I'm rolling.
St. John's would be cool. Yeah.
Tennessee,
even though Rick Pitino's the coach, like you got a veteran, you got a Hall of Fame coach. St. John's basketball's different. You got schools like St. John's, UConn that are like sort of powerhouse basketball programs, but they're not necessarily the quote unquote. I mean, UConn in the Big East is a power basketball conference, I guess.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I mean,
Yeah, the rest of them are. I hope Tennessee loses by 40.
Yeah, that's the one that would be catastrophic. That would be catastrophic. But it's funny, man, because the narrative already started, oh, NIL and the poor new age, you'll never see another Cinderella. It was what, 2 years ago when you had FAU and San Diego State in the Final Four?
Yeah.
And then the other Final Four was it wasn't even, I mean, they were power teams, but it was FAU, San Diego State, wasn't it Miami? And then I think and UConn won the whole thing. I think that's what it was. They beat San Diego State, if I remember correctly. But it's you can never win with these things. But one proposal to quote unquote fix college sports has been proposed. Tommy Tuberville, former Auburn head football coach, I believe he was the coach at 4 different Division I schools, has the 5 and 5 Act that they call it. And it seems pretty, on the surface, it seems pretty simple. 5 years to play 5 seasons. That's it. 5 consecutive years to play 5 seasons, which would eliminate the need for a red shirt because you would have a 5th year. Also included in that, one-time transfer with no penalty. If you transfer a second time, you have to sit out a year, kind of like how it used to be.
Yeah.
Seems pretty simple, but as you know, in the government and in Congress and these things, typically these bills, whether it's sports related or not, there's something in there, or the other side of the aisle wants something in there that would prevent it from, being voted for. So we'll see. I'm not going to tell you I'm going to sit here and read the thing. I mean, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to look at the Cliff Notes and hope that I,
no, I mean, that
believe the source.
I mean, that seems to be about what I'm looking at a news article that had it described pretty much accurately. My thing is, nobody's happy with the system we're in right now. Coaches. Yeah. I mean, I think it was Rick Pitino that was on, might have been Big Cat's podcast, that was like, I'm not enjoying this like I used to. Like, flat out just was like, I'm not enjoying it. Like, I don't have the impact on kids. Like, I can't have a kid for 2-3 years because most of the time, like, they're going to be gone. And now we're looking at 10 or 11 new kids we got to bring in. So it's like the coaches aren't liking it. The fans aren't liking it. I mean, the players, again, they deserve the opportunity to make money and maximize that side of things, I think. But we gotta have regulations and guardrails. Like, been saying this for 2 years or more, if not. But it's like nobody enjoys it. The product is worse. All these things are negative about it, but yet we just keep kicking the can down the road.
Well, and I think if you talk to any fan, coach, player, parent, administrator, they'll tell you, well, it's not NIL in and of itself that's the problem. It's not the transfer portal in and of itself that's the problem. It's nothing by itself that's the problem, but we're going to allow the portal with no regulations at the same time as we're going to allow NIL with no regulations, and it's all going to be new. And so all at once, you had a total reversal of the way everybody, knew and practiced these things before, that there was no, I mean, as everybody says, it was the Wild West. And that's what has become the problem is 7-year, 8-year, 9-year college players, 6 different schools, NIL payout after NIL payout, lawsuit after lawsuit. And that's been the problem. And so I think with this, like, if it's as simple as, look, man, you get 5 years to play 5 seasons, I love it. I'm absolutely all about it. And maybe there's some room for a medical on the unfortunate case of that. But, I don't know, man. 5 years to play 5 seasons. Like, if you only can play 4 or you can only play 3, I mean, sorry, like, not everybody gets this opportunity.
I agree.
That's kind of where I'm at. Is like, this is not a right. This is not a constitutional right that you get to play college sports. If you're good enough, if you're fortunate enough, And if unfortunately you can't stay healthy or there's a freak accident and you get injured, like, you know, life sucks, man. You know what I mean? I mean, another reason sports have always been such a great lesson. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like sometimes that's the way it is. And I mean, there's some guys that are going to have career-ending injuries. And I mean, they're not going to get to come back and play it. You know, I don't know. So I like it. Again, if it's as simple as it's outlined to be.
Yeah, I mean, the problem you're going to run into is, can you get this passed and agreed upon? Sure. But when is somebody going to come up and sue the NCAA for this? And then now you're back in court. Like, they're going to need protections at some point, or else you're just going to keep getting lawsuit after lawsuit, and then none of them hold up in court. So,
yeah. Well, and you've already seen some of the infamous ones that are already on socials, just like waiting for it.
Yeah.
You know, it's the 1-800-411-PAIN guys. You know what I'm saying? They like the minute you get in an accident, don't call 911. That's what it was. Call 911, then call 411. Like they're like the minute you like, let's sue somebody.
Yeah.
Like that's what we have in college athletics right now, and you know, which is probably the overlying reason for any and all issues. But the ratings are up again, Jeff. So that's the metric we look at. But very interesting. Some of what I read is some of the politicians want to include some of the antitrust stuff in with this act, which is going to be what holds it up.
Yeah.
You know, again, I don't know enough. I'm not that kind of guy. I just
way above my pay grade.
I just like to watch ball, man. That's all I like to do. Speaking of watching ball and knowing ball, yeah, I got another problem, Jeff. I know none of this is on the outline, so if you're not prepared, I'll just tell you. Do you see? I don't even know. It was Barkley and some lady they have on, I guess, Turner Sports doing the college basketball thing, and they did the logo thing. Like they did a roulette of the logos of teams in the tournament, and they didn't know any of them. They didn't know any of the mid majors.
Of course they did.
I mean, it was embarrassing, and I'm like, dude, I get it. I do, because you're going to get a team that's in the tournament that hasn't been on your network all year, probably. And in basketball, there's a ton of schools, and I'm not going to pretend that I know them all. But like, your job is to be an analyst for this specific tournament. And like, these guys for several weeks at the beginning of March got on there, and I'm not necessarily pinning it on Barkley or this young lady, but they get on there and they talk about who deserves to be in, who doesn't deserve to be in, who's the last four, who's the first four, blah, 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 playing games. But then it's like, oh, okay, who's this team? I have no idea. So you got a hot take, you got a real strong opinion on how bad they are. It's the same thing. It's along the lines of what we were talking about with Tulane when I think it was on McAfee's show when the guy was like, are they even on TV at all? I don't know. I've never watched them, but I know they're bad. That's all they know. I mean,
yeah.
And so again, it's like your job's to be an analyst, to at least have the integrity. And I know Barkley, like I love Barkley, and that guy's an NBA analyst, and I feel like he's like that talking about the NBA too. So like, but it's just a general thing where you see these networks spend weeks criticizing a program or hyping up a program. And then when it's like, okay, I mean, one of them was like the North Dakota State logo. I mean, come on, dude. Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty well-known brand at any athletic, any sport.
You would think. And at that point, the tournament, like the teams were already set, selection had happened. So you'd think you'd at least go through the teams. Like if you were getting paid to do this, to know, oh yeah, that's High Point or that's North Dakota State. Like, but again, like everything else, the vast majority of the people in those positions, I don't know how they even got the opportunity. So, I mean, kudos to them, but yeah, come on, do better.
When you've probably filled out a bracket at that point.
Yeah.
Like you've probably already picked that team to lose. You don't even know what team it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, I will say this though, Jeff. I mentioned in the chat to Joe, I'm trying to get over to Troy to catch some baseball. I don't know if you've been keeping up with college baseball, but the quote unquote mid majors and group of 5 teams, specifically in the Sun Belt, are having a time. I mean, upsetting Georgia, upsetting some Ole Miss, LSU, all of them. So it's been good. Hang on a sec, Jeff. I got to sneeze. I'm going to mute myself for a minute.
Yeah, you're good. No, I hadn't been keeping up with, the entire landscape of the group of 5 in baseball, but I've checked out, a handful of Blue Raider baseball games, and that's been a fun time. But taking the kids, on a Friday afternoon, the sun's been shining, it's been a little bit warmer, so can swing the bat, Sprouse, but pitching, we got to do better. Giving up too many runs.
In middle?
Yeah.
Dude, I apologize. I don't know if you can see my eye now. I got like a sneeze. It's waiting, but I can't get it out. So anyway, we'll keep going. Maction's schedule came out yesterday.
Yes, it did.
What do you think? You got some initial thoughts on the Maction schedule, Jeff?
It's interesting. When you look at some of the team, obviously we always look at like the draws, right? But I feel like there's a couple teams that got some nice draws. And I just feel bad for the Kent States of the world.
Buddy. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what they did to just piss off. I don't know if it's the MAC conference itself. Their athletic department's doing them zero favors as far as non-conference. But first initial kind of thoughts were Ohio's got a pretty nice draw. Ball State's got a decent draw, in my opinion. I think Akron, Buffalo, Kent State, they all got pretty brutal draws, in my opinion. Yeah. So now you got, Sac State's obviously in it. Toledo, losing Candle. What's that program going to be like? I think Miami of Ohio will always be in it. Ohio, obviously, another new program. Western Michigan, can they continue? Can they be, a team that could repeat back to back? We'll see. But yeah, I mean, I would say Ohio. I like Ohio's draw. I think Kent State with South Carolina, Ohio State, South Florida. I mean, that is just brutal.
I'll tell you, man. I like Miami's schedule.
Yeah.
Because again, it's what we always say, right? They got 2 Power 4 games, neither of which are impossible, and neither of which are going to physically beat you up for the remainder of your season. We get Pitt and Cincinnati, which is a rivalry game, and you've beat Cincinnati as of late. I mean, UMass has a pretty favorable non-conference. We'll see how good or bad they are.
See, Miami's was one where I looked at it and I said, if they're really good and they win that non-conference, or have a 1-loss non-conference, and you win the MAC, you have a very good case of making that playoff spot.
Yeah, well, I like Ohio's too. I mean, because Jack State and South Alabama, like those are solid. I love the good group of 5. On a group of 5, like I think those are both going to be great games.
Yeah,
Ohio, Jack State, and Ohio, South Alabama. Like I like that. Those are great. Those are great non-conference games to get. Western Michigan's got, Michigan, and they got Boise State down the road too.
Yeah.
But coming defending champs, Western Michigan. So we'll see what they can do.
How about the Chippewas? Would you any take on their schedule? Drinkle in year 2,
dude. Well, their schedule's manageable to me.
Yeah,
and again, like I think like Wyoming is a good group of 5 non-conference game. I mean, you get Miami, who's probably going to be pretty good again, but nobody's going to beat you up if you lose by 3 or 4 touchdowns to them. And if you win the rest of your games, New Mexico, are they going to be as good as they were last year? I don't know. Either way, in week 1, it's a pretty good group of 5 test for both of them. So I like that schedule.
And you have Toledo, which, again, different coach, different program, but you'd still like to think that they're going to be Toledo.
And then you get you get Western Michigan at home, you get Miami at home. Like you said, but that's going to be a tough stretch. I mean, they play Miami, then they're versus Akron, but then they're Ohio, Western Michigan, and Miami 3 straight weeks. That'll be a tough stretch.
That's a brutal
right in the middle of the season. One thing I don't know if you saw, that Bowling Green Toledo game is a weeknight game. Just had to ruin it. Had 2 years in a row, had it on a Saturday. Great environment. Now, I don't know if you saw where both athletic departments kind of came out and said, like, we might just schedule this twice. Like, just play twice and do it on so we have a Saturday game. Like, they'll play each other twice in the season.
Interesting.
One as like a non-conference scenario, just so they can guarantee they get that game on a Saturday once a year.
Yeah, it should be. Should be a Saturday.
But,
now, and after sitting here looking at it, again, not sure what Toledo's situation is going to be. I think I like their entire schedule, like especially their non-conference is very manageable. Michigan State, Temple, San Diego State, like then you roll into conference with Ball State, Buffalo, Eastern Michigan. Then you get to Western Michigan, but then you get a bye, Sac State, UMass, Bowling Green, Ohio. That's a very favorable schedule because you avoid Miami of Ohio.
I'm really interested to see how Sac State does in year one.
Too.
I mean, their schedule, it's not crazy. Fresno State and North Dakota State in the non-conference.
Is it a week 0 conference opener?
Yeah, Eastern Mich. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah, we'll see.
I'll tell you who's
winning the MAC 2026 for us. Go.
Ain't no telling, dude. Ask me like December 1st.
Right.
But you always like the MAC, man. It's so balanced. It's there's so much parity in the MAC. But anyway, we got to move on. We got to talk O-line and D-line for a little bit, Jeff, and we'll probably cut this show a little short. I can't quit sniffling. So, have you ever used Afrin?
Yeah.
That's what I did. And because I was all stuffed up. And so I was trying to clear it so I didn't sound like that on the show. And now it's just uncontrollably like wanting to drip out. So, but anyway, O-line, D-line, Jeff, we talked about this last week. We talked quarterbacks and DBs, and we kind of, especially with those two positions, but I think also with these ones, like we had a couple of criteria. I mean, we talked about the NFL pipeline. We talked about, those legendary seasons or legendary careers out of one or two guys. And then we talked about just that general thought of, if we're playing this school, we know they're going to be good up front. That's just, they always are. And that's what's going to make a team, quote unquote, position you. So O-line, I know you're probably going to try to like defer to me on this, but I think O-line is it's one of the easier ones to dissect, really. I mean, for me, first thing you got to think of is you think the academies, and you go Air Force, Army, Navy. Army, the only one that has the end of the season award for being the best offensive line. The group of 5, group of 6 team to ever do it. So you got to put them in the conversation. But you got to all three of them. I mean, you got to always know, like, dude, they're going to rush for a ton of yardage. They're going to have good guys up front. They're going to be athletic. They're going to be physical. So you got to put the academies in there. Now, they're not going to have necessarily the NFL pipeline to a degree. What's the guy that played for the Steelers forever, though, out of West Point? Villanueva, right?
Yeah.
Alejandro Villanueva. But he didn't play. He played tight end at Army. So I don't know if that counts. So they're like my immediate thought. And then I had a couple other immediate thoughts. And as we said, for every other position, Boise State can have an argument and a good one, probably at any position group along the lines. They probably can. Just the decades of success from Boise at every position group they're going to be in there. But my first two thoughts outside of the academies, one, Central Michigan, for a number of reasons. First off, they had a number one, pick in Eric Fisher. I mean, you have that. And then you had a couple other guys, Luke Goodecki, Bernard Raymond, just a couple of years ago, get drafted.
Staley, right, too?
Yeah, back in the day, 49er guy. So, and Joe Staley especially had a phenomenal NFL career.
Yeah.
And then you now pile that on with what we talked about kind of going into this past season by bringing in Coach Drinkle and that mindset and that attitude that he brought over from West Point. And you put that all at Central Michigan, it's like, I mean, you want to play O-line. You want to be developed to play O-line. They've got the pedigree. They've got the guy now that's got the pedigree. And they're in the MAC, and that's what they do.
And they've always just, I mean, the size. They've always had size up front. Like, they will just lean on you. I mean, big, I think about as big as any team in the MAC has been when you look at a sheer height and weight standpoint. I know Bowling Green's had some pretty big cats, but, I just want to get up there and see them live and in person because it is a fun brand of football to watch. I mean, we got to see it at West Point before he left, and I'd love to see it up there with the Chips.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the thing, too. I'd love to see it, too. Anybody that can get up and play physical ball on a Tuesday or Wednesday night when it's cold like that, like you're some tough SOBs.
No doubt.
And Central Michigan's got it. The other one I went, and maybe this is recency bias, but I don't think so, Louisiana. I mean, the Cajuns had a run where, I mean, that O-line with Billy Napier in his last season when they won 10 or 11 games or whatever it was, I mean, you had 3 or 4 NFL guys on that O-line alone. Robert Hunt just signed a big contract, I think, with the Broncos. I think it was. Kevin Dotson, Max Mitchell. I mean, you've had some big-time NFL players come out of Louisiana. And that's one, too. You kind of always feel like there's some that used to be. Yeah, you used to would think that about App State.
Yeah.
I don't know if you think that anymore about App State.
Yeah, the thing about Louisiana too is I don't know if they quite have obviously you've had NFL guys, no question. Now, have you had, Eric Fisher, Joe Staley? Probably not. But especially when you factor in just the dominant offensive lines they had in college, like you're talking a top 10 rushing attack, top 20, top 10 in 2020, top 20 in 2021, multiple seasons averaging over 5 yards or more per carry. That's all O-line, play right there. And I remember every time we'd go down there, dude, just big, physical offense and defensive line for that matter. So I think they deserve to be mentioned in the conversation for sure.
Yeah, I think so. And then I know we kind of like said, I mean, you could put Boise in for anyone. Boise, I think on the O-line has got, I mean, they check all the boxes. They've got guys like Ryan Clady, big-time NFL careers, Nate Potter, and then they got guys recently, Cage Casey. And anytime, I know Ashton Genty is special, but anytime you put up a season like he had, you got a good offensive line. And they've got to be in the conversation just based on that alone. But again, you go back to their run. They've had, now you're coming up on 3 decades of being, really a top 10, top 15 program in the country. And a lot of that's due to always having that consistent play at O-line.
Yeah, and I think you could make a case for, I mean, honestly, a handful of other schools that had like a really good guy and then were just kind of, like solid at those positions. But I mean, I think when you nail it kind of down to the top 5, including the academies, Louisiana, Central Michigan, Boise State, I think that's your most consistent NFL like producing program, in my opinion. I'm trying to see if we left.
There's one more, and they've not played a game yet in the group of 5.
Oh, well, that's no
North
question.
Dakota State. You know what's interesting about North Dakota State is we went to the Senior Bowl a couple years in a row when we first started doing this, and they always have a guy. Always. They always have a guy that everybody considers, this small school guy out of North Dakota State. But is it time to put that notion to bed? I mean, I get it if you have a guy that's a D3 guy and it's the first guy ever at the Senior Bowl. But when you have an NFL guy on your offensive line, a high draft pick, year after year after year, it's time to stop calling it like it's some charity case.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys are good and they're always good and they're dominant and they go on to the NFL and they're good there too against the best of the best. So, I mean, North Dakota State, again, do you consider them in this? They haven't even played a game yet in the group of 5, but for the criteria that we're talking about, they check every single box.
Joe has a good point in the chat, and I'll put it up on the screen. He says, do you just factor in rushing for O-lines? Not fair. Good O-lines protect in the run and shoot, etc.
Yeah, it's just hard to.
Yeah,
it's hard.
This is where I go when I think of, how much of that is the system and getting the ball out quick, as opposed to actually, because most run and shoot offenses, you're 1 to 2 to 3 and the ball's out, and you're getting on the move, rolling right or left. Like it's vertical pass game, but it's very quick. Whereas in order to really run the ball effectively, like you got to have dudes that can really, really block. So like I'm not discounting any of those offenses, but I think in order to really evaluate, like,
yeah, well, there was a
lineman, you got to be able to move the line of scrimmage.
I think it was it might have been your last year. I feel like the middle O-line was like top 5 in the country as far as sacks allowed. And I mean, that was a good front. Yeah, that was a damn good front. Yeah. But I'm not going to sit here and say that was O-line kind of an offensive line. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm sort of
maybe it was. I mean, shit. Maybe if we had that O-line for, if we had it now, we might be a pretty good
you
club.
got Josh Walker, obviously.
You had Darius Johnson, Micah James. You had the Grisham Hamlin rotation.
Yeah.
And then you had
a little bit after us. Who's the guy who played for the Rams? I'm blanking on his name.
Oh, Chandler Brewer. Did you see what's his name? Keelan Rutledge is going to be drafted. That's something that it just baffles me. Like,
what's that?
Okay. We have had, it's no secret, at middle has had a bad offensive line for probably upwards of the last, 6-7 years?
Yeah.
At least. And he was on one of those offensive lines. Goes to Georgia Tech, and all of a sudden, the guy's going to the league.
Yeah. That's all Jeep Wade. You know that.
Jeep Wade's at Nebraska now. Did you know that?
I don't know if I knew that.
Yeah. Isn't that something? The Coach Stockstill coaching pipeline is something to be talked about.
Florida,
I'm telling you, I'm going to do a report on it because you got some position coaches that are coaching big time blue blood programs all across the country right now that were, they might have been 25 years old when we were playing for them.
Doesn't matter.
But oh yeah. I mean, dude, think about it. Think about the coordinators and position coaches that we went through and where they are today. But we couldn't keep them. Couldn't keep any of them. But anyway, are we missing Joe? Who are we missing? Who's Joe trying to get us to go with here?
I don't know. 4,000 yards.
I mean, he's got a percentage here, 6 sacks. I mean, is this like the Larry Blakeney Troy? Where are you going with?
That's what I was wondering. I don't remember them spinning it all over the yard. Not Troy.
Mm-mm.
Maybe before our time.
Yeah. Anyway, suck D-line. You want Troy? I mean, this was funny because I almost was like, well, should I stick to more interior guys? Because some of these guys, okay, is it linebacker it's now you call them an edge, But I mean, that's the immediate thought. Is Troy has a pass rusher always. I mean, DeMarcus Ware, OCU Manura. I mean, I like to think we were the ones that found Javon Solomon before everybody else knew about him. But I mean, they always again, You got guys like DeMarcus Ware and OCU Minora who have phenomenal NFL careers, but then you also have Troy has that notion of like, who about to play Troy?
Yeah.
Holy shit, they're going to have a guy that can rush the passer. Always.
Would you say Massaquoi too?
I have him in my notes. I didn't say him, but yeah.
I mean, they've had, you talk about NFL talent, and then just at the college level, and Javon Solomon and some of the other guys they had. I mean, I remember we played Troy every year, and one of the games, Dash dislocates his finger, and I go in I think it was the middle of the second quarter. They were like, "Hey, we're gonna run a reverse flea flicker," and I'm like,
"Oh no,
this is a terrible idea." So I get the ball, I hand it on a jet sweep, and it comes back around, and it gets flipped to me. And as soon as I get the ball, I just get absolutely my bell rung. And I don't even know. The ball went flying somewhere. I was like, you bring me in and that's what we do? Like for Pete's Dragon.
Yeah.
Always had dudes that could get off the edge or even up the middle. It didn't matter.
Always, man. Always. We got to get down there and check them out in the spring. Maybe they got another one that we don't know about yet.
Yeah.
The other one I really kind of had two other ones. And again, this is more edge again, but Boise again, man. I mean, with last year having Hassanin, but then you go back, you have DeMarcus Lawrence, you have Leighton Vander Esch. It's kind of more of a linebacker, but you have him. I mean, again, they always got who'd they have before Hassanin last year?
Virgil Morgan.
Yeah. So you had him and Hassanin on the same squad, and then he was just there. Yeah.
Well, they got, as of right now, as long as my numbers are correct, 11 former Broncos are on active rosters currently. So, I mean, that's your NFL pipeline right there. They've had tons of game records in college. I mean, they've been at the top of the Mountain West. We'll see how they fare in the Pac-12, but I don't see them, taking a step back in any way.
No, I don't either. The other one I had, a lot of people said on Twitter is Marshall.
That's who
I mean, Marshall's always, you have Mike Green as of late, Vinny Curry a little bit ago. They always seem to have a guy or two that can get after it.
Owen Porter, I remember constantly mentioning his name just a few years ago. Mike Green, obviously, Jonathan Goddard. So, they've had, I mean, whether you go back to the Curry years and then just kind of every couple of years, man, they're having somebody churning somebody out. And then obviously Mike Green getting all the notoriety he got. So I think Marshall's definitely a D-line U candidate.
Yeah. And the other one that, and I don't have I have like one name that I can think of, and it's one that I feel like, because we played them a lot, and when we were playing them every year as a team or as a program, they were not good. But I felt like they always had good defensive fronts, and that's Memphis. I feel like I do remember they had, was it Dontari Poe?
Yeah.
Who got drafted. I don't think he ever really did much in the NFL, but I remember they had him, and I just remember them always being like big up front, especially on the interior at Memphis. So that was one, but I don't necessarily, I don't know if that's a D-line U. Memphis, I know a certain position that they'll be position U for, but we'll get to that maybe next week. But what about, you had mentioned San Diego State?
Yeah, and then when I kind of looked into them, it was, you had some good college players. Nobody, really had just a phenomenal NFL career, or even like a long one. At least not the ones that I found. I went and looked because I felt like every year we played Arkansas State, that they always had a good defensive line. But again, it was kind of similar to San Diego State. Like, I remember playing them, and they were really good up front defensively, but nobody kind of really made a splash in the NFL. Like, just really good, solid, Sun Belt players. But.
Yeah. I agree with you. So I mean, there's probably 5 or 6 different programs for the O-line we could go with. I mean, on the D-line, is it safe to say Troy, Boise, Marshall? Is that pretty?
I feel pretty good about that.
I like it.
And
I like it.
If you think we're wrong or we missed somebody, call in and let us know. We do have a caller at the end of the show he's going to make a case. He's going to make a case for somebody we brought up but didn't give the crown to.
Well, let's hear it. So yeah, if you disagree, call the hotline at 615-900-4286. We will play it on the air and we will attempt to address the call. But Jeff, let's see what this one is.
Hi, this is Ted in Maryland, and a longtime listener, first-time caller, and I'm calling because I'm accepting the invitation to argue with your quarterback, defensive back podcast recently. Only in that I think you gave Tulane a little bit of short shrift. I think you mentioned that Tulane could have been on this list because Pratt, Mensah, or Retzlaff has been pretty good, but that this was too recent to make a call. That's a good 1-2-3 punch, but you don't have to go back very far to get a 1-2-3 punch of Sean King, Patrick Ramsey, and J.P. Lozman. Sean King, of course, 1998 perfect season, seventh overall ranking for the Tulane Green Wave, and then he's drafted second by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You get Patrick Ramsey, amazing quarterback for Tulane, who's drafted in the first round by the Washington Redskins, and then you've got J.P. Lozman, his backup, who goes on to get drafted in the first round by the Buffalo Bills after that. This is while Tulane's in Conference USA, and after that, you've got incredible quarterbacks like Ryan Griffin, you've got Lester Ricard, you've got really a triumvirate of Tanner Lee, Jonathan Banks, and then the LSU transfer, Justin McMillan, right before Michael Pratt, who was a phenomenal player for Tulane. Of course, everyone knows about Pratt, everyone knows about Mensah, everyone knows about Retzlaff. Really, thanks to you, you've done really good coverage. But Tulane's been a series of great quarterbacks. I mean, you can go back into the 80s when I was there in law school. Bubby Brister was the starting quarterback. He lost the job to the coach's son through no fault of his own. He goes to Northeast Louisiana, now ULM. When it was still an FCS school, gets drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers and has a 15-year NFL career. We've got Steve Foley, we've got Rock Hontus, we got players during the golden era of Tulane when they went undefeated and turned down a Rose Bowl invitation because they had Rose Bowl conflicted with final exams. When Tulane's had some really, really good quarterbacks, and a little surprised that the Sean King, Patrick Ramsey, J.P. Lozman trilogy was not top of mind for people responding to the social media request. I'm so old, I don't do social media and don't quite know how to do it.
I think that's about it.
Is that it?
I think that's it. He makes a really good case.
Well, they've got the two. It's very interesting because I kind of, when I think I have it in my head and then I go look it up, and if they don't have three guys, I'm like, I'll move on. But he listed like two trios.
Yeah.
And all of them back to back to back sort of too.
And
so, I mean,
and I fall into the trap of like, I try and go back about 2 decades, whereas a lot of those guys were right at that kind of line there, and not that we shouldn't factor in those guys.
Yeah,
that's
you're
just
right.
kind of where I when I'm researching.
Well, and you go to think back,
because Sean King was good.
Sean King was real good.
Yeah.
Well, but I go back to like when Sean King was in college. Like I don't really know. I'm watching.
Yeah.
But I'm not really. But as I'm growing up and really getting into football, that's when I'm seeing the Hawaiis.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's where like we're in high school and I'm like, oh hell yeah. Like
yeah, no doubt. That's a little bit of
that's a fault of ours.
It's a little bit of our prime football bias. I would definitely say that. But
for sure.
I mean, after hearing that list, I think Tulane can make a good case for it.
Make a good argument. Definitely could make a good argument. But that's it. We only had the one voicemail.
Said the one this week.
615-900-4286 is that number. If you have another opinion on the offensive line or defensive line, or I think next week we'll probably do running backs, linebackers.
Yeah, we'll have to figure out. Yeah, I'll talk to you about it. Next week's spring break, so maybe we do it.
Oh God, Jeff's going to be at Club La Vila. La Vila at 37 years old. He's trying to go to spring break.
I think that place shut down, pal.
I hope so. I mean, jeez. Dude.
No, we're going with the boys, going with the kids.
Where are you going?
We're just doing a little staycation in, Nashville.
Really?
Yeah. Because Scarlett, here's the deal. If somebody could make a call to the damn mayor of this town or the school board.
I thought you were the mayor. Murfreesboro.
Not yet. No, well, the MTSU spring break is never on the same time as Rutherford County. So when the kids are out of spring break, Scarlett's working and vice versa. So it just makes no sense to me. It's like, let's do this thing on the same one. All the parents, all the teachers have kids that are at the college. Mm-hmm. So we're just doing something like Wednesday, Thursday, and be back Friday.
I'll read you. Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll, you got a long off season ahead of us still. But that's all we got for you guys tonight. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure you follow us on all the social platforms at Group of Five Guys. Go to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the Believe Network, wherever you get your best podcasts. Subscribe to the channel, Group of Five Guys, presented by FanDuel. Tell your family and friends all about us. Have a great rest of your week. Have a great night. We're out of here.